Hello, Clarion, and welcome to Off the Bench, the best sports show in Pennsylvania, hands down. I'm your host, Dom Walker. Yes, Mr. Hello, Clarion. As with me, as always, is my co-host, Alex Azor. How you doing, man?
Doing good, enjoying a day where there isn't rain.
Yeah, no rain, still a little chilly. We had some sun, actually. You could tell the fall's coming. The leaves have been changing. Yeah. And with me, remote coordinator, Nick Caldwell, a.k.a. Salty. What's up, man?
Hey, not much. Just glad to be back on OTB. First time this semester. I one-upped with Sports Night already. Time to even it up with OTB.
Ready for some good sports topics we got here in the rundown?
I am very ready.
Let's jump into it. More on the somber note to start the show off. IndyCar Dan Weldon, I believe is how he pronounced his name, died in a horrific crash this past weekend. And I just wanted to ask you guys, since we've seen this happen now in the IndyCar circuit, is this one of the what is the most dangerous sport right now, Alex?
Well, I think after seeing that wreck, it's hard not to say that IndyCar is the most dangerous sport. We talked about it before the show. I mean, you're driving at speeds excess of 220 miles an hour with very little protection. If something goes wrong like it did, as you can see on the crash, the results can be
It was like
deadly.
Instant explosion. I mean, with all that gas you're riding around it, and then it's no protection like we were talking before the show, other like NASCAR. These guys are riding around, their heads are wobbling and everything. IndyCar is much different than a NASCAR race car. Salty, what is your opinion on the most dangerous sport right now?
I mean, I'm just going to generalize racing as being the most dangerous sport. I mean, you look at these, at the IndyCar racing, the NASCAR, and even just like the funny car on the straight stretch. You know, that's even dangerous. You know, you glitch it even a little bit, and you're going for a spin. That's for sure. But I mean, I'm just going to say racing in general, like you said, high speeds. You know, 100 plus, 200 plus miles an hour. You know, it's not safe. Like I mean, it's a sport that bump you. I mean, it's a sport that people enjoy. But I mean, it's just when things like this happen, it's very hard to ignore that it's a dangerous sport.
Yeah, we were watching videos earlier on like hockey has to be up there on the top. One guy got his neck sliced with an ice skate, which rarely happens, but it's a possibility. Boxing and UFC, clearly, I mean, you can have permanent long-term damage from that. And evidently racing is now, I mean, it's been up there. We have seen some bad crashes these last couple of years. So moving on now, the 49ers coach, Jim Harbaugh versus Jim Schwartz, had a little altercation after the 49ers defeated the Lions. The Lions were on a hot streak, but so the 49ers been playing very well right now. I just want to know, who was to blame for this altercation? Was it Jim Harbaugh of the 49ers or Jim Schwartz of the Lions? Alex?
I think Schwartz overreacted. I mean, I don't think Harbaugh was being mean or had any intent behind slapping him too hard. He was just obviously excited. I think this really takes away from how good San Francisco is playing right now. It was an awesome game. San Francisco's 5-1 on the season, and all we're talking about is the post-game handshake. It just bugs me a little bit.
It does. I mean, you don't see this with NFL coaches a lot. I mean, in past years, I've seen some old footage on ESPN, a few coaches getting into it, but to my opinion, it was just like Jim Harbaugh. He was pumped up, very enthusiastic. He did apologize and say that. Shook his hand very hard and then kind of shoved him. Salty, what are your views on this? Were they both to blame, or was it?
I think neither of them are to blame actually. I mean, like Harbaugh said in his interview, you know, he was just excited. Like, yeah, it was a hard handshake, the slap, grab, and then the hard pat on the back.
I think that's what it was.
I could see where Schwartz could take it out of context. Like, I mean, you know, it's like, hey, you know, that's kind of a bit disrespectful. Why would you do that?
Just suffered a bitter loss.
I mean, I think it would have dropped had Harbaugh been like, okay, sorry, my bad, like right there when it happened. But he didn't apologize until his press conference. And then Jim Schwartz even said in his press conference that, you know, I blew it up a little bit. You know, it's whatever. I mean, there's no hard feelings there. It
as a player, you got to love it, though. Your coaches are about to go at it after a game. I mean, I'd have been like, yeah, coach, go ahead and fight for us.
and to be fair, there was an incident earlier in the game where Harbaugh tried to challenge a call he couldn't, and Jim Schwartz yells to him, you know the rules. So Schwartz was being a little disrespectful too.
Wow, so he kind of deserved that one then. Next topic in hot topics. Recently, votes for ESPN, they ranked all NBA players. Kobe Bryant, which is one of the best players in the NBA and has been for the years, in my opinion, was surprisingly given a 7. 1 out of 10, he was given a 7. I just wanted to know, who are your top 3 favorite NBA players, and what do you rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, Alex?
Well, I have to disagree with Kobe being a 7. He's a 10 in my book.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be slowing down a little bit, but that's just because his minutes are going down because he's battled all the injuries. Obviously very solid defensively, and there's no one else I want to have the ball in the last second shot. So he gets a 10 from me. Dirk Nowitzki, he has a 9, very complete game. Obviously Dallas winning the championship last year. And then Dwayne Wade's third. He also gets a 9 for me, just, the complete game that he has.
Exactly. Nick, who's your top 3, and where do they sit?
I didn't go by my favorites. I went by who I felt was the best, and all 3 of these are going to share a 9. I put Kobe at 1 because Kobe's got the championships. He's got he's only a 9. He's not a perfect 10. I don't think anybody right now in the league is a perfect 10. But I have Kobe at a 9 just because he's getting old. He's 33, 34 years old. He's going downhill, Number 2, I've got LeBron. And number 3, I've got Derrick Rose. And LeBron and Rose share the same thing. They are a championship away from being a perfect 10.
I totally forgot about Derrick Rose while making my top 3, but my top 3 is still good in my eyes. Kobe Bryant, 10, of course. Every NBA player aspires to be like Kobe Bryant. They wish to have the amount of rings that he has. He's the closest thing since Jordan. I was young when Jordan was still playing. Didn't get to watch him and to soak it in like I would, do now. So Kobe Bryant's the closest thing to Jordan. I got Dwayne Wade next at a 9. And Carmelo Anthony, I got him on the list instead of LeBron just because he's a closer, and he changes the game for anybody. He's won a lot of games in the last final seconds.
Done a lot for the Knicks.
Yeah, done a lot for the Knicks so far. And they actually were going to gear up and play Miami, which that game is now canceled due to the first 2 weeks. But that's another topic for another day.
Just real quick, I wouldn't be surprised if ESPN did this just to drum up a little bit of basketball talk in the midst of the lockout. Just
trying to kind of steer your views. I learned about that in critical thinking.
Makes sense.
Trying to put another topic in there. We're going to shoot it to another quick commercial break. First commercial break, actually. But don't go far. We got a lot more coming up more on Off the Bench. And welcome back to Off the Bench. In this block, we'll have some MLB and some college football. First being the MLB, the World Series is finally upon us. We have the Texas Rangers and the St. Louis Cardinals. Quickly, guys, who's your pick? And who will win the World Series? Alex?
It was a tough call, but I'll take St. Louis over Texas.
Soli?
I've got the Rangers in 6.
This one was tough to me just because it's like the Rangers. The only reason I was going to pick the Rangers is because they did return 2 years running, and to lose the World Series twice, you just can't let that happen. But St. Louis has been on fire. They've been given an underdog role this whole season, and that's what continues to happen now, even moving on to the World Series. So it's like, don't give them that undercard role.
But the thing with St. Louis is even when you add in the 4 AL teams that made it to the playoffs, St. Louis is still the biggest wild card out of the 4. The Rangers have so much consistency that it's ridiculous. The Cardinals
from management down to pitching.
It's not that the Cardinals made the playoffs. Atlanta gave the playoffs away. They had the Phillies, which is not easy. Is their last series. And
they totally bombed it. St. Louis made the best of it.
Exactly. The Cardinals took advantage and had that 1-game playoff to get in, and they beat Atlanta. But I feel it was more Atlanta gave the playoffs away than.
So what are your reasons on why the Rangers will take the series?
Consistency. Okay. Consistency is key. Like you said, they're back again, and they've looked.
Which is a hard thing to do.
Exactly, and they've looked as solid as they've ever looked. Right
Alex. What are your views and your opinions on why the Cardinals will take the World Series?
Well, if you want to talk about consistency, it starts with the St. Louis Cardinals. Tony La Russa, he's been there forever. Albert Pujols and the amazing, consistent, career that he's had. I think you touched on it, that St. Louis has kind of been an underdog, not talked about a whole lot because Texas has beaten teams like Detroit, like the Yankees, so they get all the fanfare. But I think, with a combination of David Freese, Pujols, and Matt Holliday, plus with an ace in Chris Carpenter, I think you have to go St. Louis.
All right, so how many games will St. Louis take to win the World Series?
It'll be a close series. I think they're even teams in terms of high-powered offense. Pitching's a little shaky, but I have the Cardinals in 6.
Soli, what do you have?
I took the Rangers in 6.
Rangers in 6, Cardinals in 6. I was just torn between the two, actually. Texas, you just don't let it happen. I want the Cardinals to win, but you better not even think about losing the World Series 2 years in a row. It just reminds me of that Michigan team when they had all those players to make it to the Final Four twice. Then they lost to Duke, and it's like, Don't let it happen to you. Now we're going to quickly jump into some college football now. And I just want to know, who's your top 3 quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers right now in college football, Alex?
You're really putting us to work here today.
I did for this one.
For my quarterbacks, it starts with Andrew Luck. I think he's top quarterback in the league. I don't know there's much debate about it. Landry Jones and Russell Wilson are my other 2. At running back, Trent Richardson. I think that's clear cut. I'm sure we all agree on that. Marcus Lattimore, even with a knee injury, and Monte Ball out of Wisconsin. I think he's still flying under the radar.
And they had him. Me and Saudi were checking the rankings. Monte Ball wasn't even in the top 10.
He wasn't.
Surprisingly,
He was about 24th, I believe.
And I'm like, as a pro-style running back, he has to be up there. But
well, I think it's the lack of carries. He's still averaging around, I think, 5.5 yards a carry, so the numbers are still nice. Quickly at wide receiver, Justin Blackmon, Ryan Broyles out of Oklahoma, I should say, and Michael Floyd.
Saudi, who's your top 3 quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers?
People are going to be hating me for this one. Number 3, I'm putting Denard Robinson. Doesn't have the QB numbers, but the guy is the next Michael Vick. There's no doubt about it. Guy moves, guy throws, guy gets the job done. Number 2, a name that you guys, not everybody may have heard of, Case Keenum from Houston. Case Keenum is rocking 2,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, been sacked 8 times. His QB rating is a 174.8. And number 1, the underdog for the past 4 years, Kellen Moore. 21 touchdowns. I mean, he's got 4 picks, been sacked twice. His QB rating is at 179.
That's crazy.
Running backs, number 3, another name you guys probably don't know, Bernard Pierce from Temple, 844 yards and 17 touchdowns on the ground.
Wow.
Number 2, I put LaMichael James in there. I mean, he's not had the stellar season that people are looking for, but at some point it's going to turn around. He's going to kick it into high gear and go. He's still in the Heisman running, I think, and I think he'll somehow pull it out. Number 1, obviously, you got to go Trent Richardson. 912 yards, 15 touchdowns right now. Receivers, people are going to hate me for my number 1. Number 3, I got Ryan Broyles. I mean, he's got 815 yards already in 9 scores. Justin Blackmon, number 2, possibly the most overall solid receiver. But if you want to win a game, there's one receiver I'm throwing to, and